This is our fourth video in this series of preparing this base for patterning with Pandafold. So at this point, we've closed all the holes. We've imported our mesh. We started there, made sure the scale was good. We've closed all the vent holes on the base, and we've talked about like how to get a good mouth shape. So at this point, where we're at is sculpting the neck here. And the initial consideration that I have is that we need to make sure that the neck is going to be large enough to get the head in and out of. So this is the bust that I use for making all of my fursuit heads. And what I'm looking at is, can you get this head out of here? So I would not be comfortable with this because in an emergency situation, if you had to take the head off, it's going to be really tight if you just made it like it is. But then secondarily, um, you could use a zipper, but then in an emergency situation, you're having to unzip this. So instead, what I'm going to do is just expand the neck on this. And when I'm looking at it, I'm looking at it from multiple perspectives. Like, yeah, this head is abnormally wide because it's got extra space around, this bust is abnormally wide. It's got extra space around the ears, but let's just make this a bit wider and a bit bigger. Okay, so we are going to select this is let's call it the neck. And what we're going to do now is start manipulating this so that it is wider. So let's, I'm in the wrong tool, hit escape. Okay, so what we're going to do is drag out the sides, and 3D Coat has amazing tools to manipulate meshes like this. This is the move tool, and I'm right clicking and moving sideways to make that brush bigger, and see, I can just drag like this. But in this case, we're actually going to turn on the symmetry. So I hit S, and now I'm turning on the X-axis symmetry. And now anything I do to this side is going to show up on that side, and we have that funky neck situation going on there. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to make the radius larger. The other way to make the radius larger is up here. And I'm going to turn up the smoothing and okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about brushes. So that red line that you see, it's easier to see here. That is the, I guess the degree that it moves is what it's calling it. But if I come over here and I select a different brush, you will see now that I have an entirely different curve. So that tells you what the curve of this move tool is going to look like. So now let's select this brush. Oh, that's definitely not what we want. I mean, I guess we could want that, but it's really not what we want. Yeah, so you've got a really sharp point here. Okay, so let's try some of these other brushes and see if we get something that's going to give us a good move there. Let's see here. Maybe we should try a different one here. Build up, grow, build smooth. So again, this is a voxel mesh, so I'm primarily trying to stick to the voxel tools. If I use a surface tool on it, it will get converted to a surface mesh. Let's try and see. I don't think the pose tool will do what I want. It's also very magical in this tool. Let's just see if I can just grow that out. So I'm going to make that brush big. That isn't really doing what I want. And this is how you see, all right, that might do what I want. Let's turn down the smoothing on it. See, still is voxel buildup. Is that what I want? There we go, voxel buildup. Okay, so let's make that even larger. All right, perfect. Okay, so yes, it doesn't have that much of a defined neck anymore, but in an emergency situation where you found yourself, in some, let's say for instance, I'm trying to think of a silly emergency situation, but I'm just gonna stop while I'm ahead. Okay, let's make that smaller. Let's make the back of this a little bit larger. That's probably not a shape I want. Okay, so I will note something else here. I'm a big dork. When it comes to sculpting my fursuit necks, I like a flatter neck, and one of the reasons is A, it's easy for your head to get out, and B, most animals will have very large and strong. Most quadrupeds have large and strong neck muscles to support their head weight because it extends out their body. So in some ways, I feel this looks a little bit better. I'm going to extend this out a little bit more there. Okay, so now let's see what that looks like with the bust in it. Yeah, we're definitely getting that in and out. Um, okay, I'm a lot happier with that. It would still be tight here around the jaw, but because there's so much space on the sides, there'll be enough fabric play to get that out. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so now where we're at is we need to save this. And okay, so another point of discussion here is some people will model the shoulders into the neck. I am not a huge fan of that. This shape I'm okay with. The reason why is you tilt your head left and right. If you have a whole lot of that shoulder modeled into it here, and that's in the fabric, when you do that, when you end up tilting your head, it lifts the neck up. The other consideration here is this head bust that I'm using purposefully has a pretty long neck. Turns out I learned this the hard way. I was using my own self as a 3D scan, and I have almost no neck. So then nobody's necks were long. None of the fursuit head necks that I made were long enough. So this head bust has a purposefully long neck, and I'm sure it's not the longest neck I could find. I just took a whole bunch of head scans of my friends and online and merged it together into a single bust. Anyways, I actually like this neck design a lot. I think this is going to look pretty good. All right, and the front view looks pretty good. Um, so one thing that, and I haven't really talked about this very much, to think about is when you're doing this, when you cover this with fur, these proportions are going to change. So like to me, first off, when I look at this, it looks like the nose is small, but I have to remember we're in ortho mode. This is in perspective. So this is a much better representation of what this fursuit head will look like. Um, so when you look at it front on here, you have to remember that 4 or 5 millimeters of fur depth is going to get added to this muzzle. So it's going to change the way this looks. Okay, so now let's see if we can clean up the interface between these guys. So what I'm going to do is create a new group here. All right, and I'm going to copy these models over so that I'm not in a situation where if we want to change this later, we can't. I want to copy move to for patterning, and then turn that off, and I'm going to do the same thing here for patterning. All right, so now let's see if I didn't screw myself by merging this all together. Okay, nope. All right, so now because I want to do a bunch of sculpting on this, yeah, maybe I want to undo some of that. Yeah, I want to undo some of that because I want to keep the one with the. I actually want to reduce the. Well, I think I found another bug with 3DCoatPrint, which is it did not keep the material on our neck. No, it did not. Okay, so so what I'm going to do now, I actually want to just subtract this and smooth it out before I merge it into all of that stuff, so that it's a bit better. So let's see if I can do that using the Move tool, which of course is going to take me now a while to find. Oh, I'm in, let's see here, Clay Engine, where the heck is, I really wish that these tools were organized in some way that was better. I just don't know. I'm struggling with Pandafold. Like if you get to this many tools, it's not a great user experience because how do you manage having so many tools? Okay, I want to move you down, not in. Perfect. All right. Perfect. Okay, so now we're just going to do the same thing here. We'll smooth all this out in a moment here. All right, so now same thing here. That has two distinctive line. I want lots of smoothing. And let's see what happens when I do this. It's a little bit better, but it's fine. There we go. That's what I wanted. So one thing I really haven't talked about is my process for how I do this. I generally do not do all of my sculpting in 3D Coat. I much prefer to do it in Nomad Sculpt. Um, and I use 3D Coat for like the final efforts before I make molds and everything else, so that because 3D Coat is so powerful at doing that work. But what I don't like about 3D Coat is it's not a very this is going to sound weird. It's not an app that you just like, I feel really creative. Let me jump into 3D Coat. At least that's not how it is for me. I feel that Nomad Sculpt is more conducive to that. I can sit on the couch and watch television while I'm sculpting new fursuit heads and just kind of hang out and try stuff and experiment. It's just a lot more pleasant, like noodling on things in it. Okay. So now we're going to go down to smooth and we're just going to, I don't know what happened there. That's a bit too much smoothing. Okay, turn this stuff down. Let's do that. Okay, there we go. Now I've ruined my mouth. Let's see if I can not do that. I think what I'm going to have to do is let's try a different approach here. So there's this smooth everything tool that I use a lot. That's much closer to what I wanted. Okay, so that'll get me much closer. It gets me nice smoother surfaces. I think now might be the right time to try merging this. Okay. Merge move to, let's rename that guy back to for patterning. Copy and merge with. I don't know just what happened there. There we go. Okay, so now I can turn you on. I can turn you off. Let's copy and merge with. And do the same thing here. All right, so now let's turn all these guys off. Let's just create, oh, that did not work. Okay, so what happened is we tried to push this into this mesh with low resolution, and there wasn't enough. I'm going to try an experiment here and see if I get lucky. Sometimes, and I think, no, I did not get lucky. Sometimes it will recover the mesh when you just try to upscale it without doing all of that. So what I needed to do here, let's turn all of these guys off again here. So I just have that neck there. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. First off, I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup here because I do not like what has happened there. All right, there is a hole fill tool somewhere in here. Fill. I just want that filled. It helps if I select it. So now I have filled that in. So again, like 3D Coat is so magical. Why are you doing that? Okay. Like a tool like this is something that I wish Nomad Sculpt had, where you're just like, I have a surface and I just want it filled in so it's kind of flat. It seems like such an obvious sculpting tool. Like I really don't think that people appreciate the power of 3D Coat as much. And I think part of the reason for that is because the UI is, like I said earlier, like hopping into a 747. It's just a bit too much most of the time. All right. I don't know what's going on there, but let's see if we can fix this area here. And I'm very sorry if you 3D sculpt professionally and are watching this and are like, oh my gosh, what's happening? All right, let's see here. Now, if I turn this back on, that looks okay. All right, so now let's try getting this back down here. So the full version of 3D Coat has this option where when you move over a surface, it will select it. So fixing something like this is kind of easy because as long as you say it can't modify the underlying surface, it doesn't really care that much. But in this case, it's not what it just this doesn't support it. So all right, so now we're going to try using the smooth tool again and see if I can fix this. This time I'm going to color you a different color so I can see when I'm starting to encroach upon it. Smooth. All right, so I think if I hold down, oh, that's yeah, that's working on the bottom one there. Yeah, okay. All right, so I want to do something here. I'm gonna, because I just exposed some holes there, fill voids and fill holes. So, like, let's imagine if you think about this as a giant lump of clay or sand, there could be voids inside of it. So, by doing that, I'm closing those voids. All right, let's turn up. So, you'll notice the line is blue. That is because I'm holding the control key to invert its behavior. So it's smoothing while subtracting. That is not what I wanted there, but I did want it here. So I'm just trying to get this jaw back a little bit. I did not want to expose all of that. That's fine. Let's see here. All right. There we go. That's what I wanted. All right. So that's perfect. Okay. So I'm just trying to get this the plastic where the printed 3D printed plastic base would be just kind of on the surface there because we're going to lay the fabric on that. We're not going to put it on anything else. So now I need to drag that back up. And I'm back on my hunt for the move tool here. Perfect. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go back and smooth that out in a moment here. I kind of want to drag you down a little bit. There we go. Okay, so now let's go back to our smooth tool here. Turn it down a little bit. Good. Fantastic. Okay, so now, do I like that neck shape? Yeah, I'd rock that. Okay, so now I am gonna smooth out all this stuff. All right, I am gonna call that ready to be merged together. I wish, there we go. Okay. So this is pretty good. This is at the point where I think we're almost ready for patterning with Pandafold, or to make the meshes that we're gonna pattern. Okay, so does that look symmetrical? No, that does not. All right, so we are going to sim copy this because one side is not symmetrical with the other. Let's see, geometry. I'm I want to copy this side as the side I've been working on. So I'm going to use a tool on it, and then I'm going to sim copy. All right, so now it should match the other side. Yes, that looks much better. Okay, so now let's move that out a little bit. Smooth that down. Fantastic. Okay, so this is now done. Pretty happy. Okay, so I didn't quite keep the mouth shape I wanted, but that is fine because what I'm going to do is put it back in ortho, go to the side view, and cut that out. So I wanted to have this more defined. So I am just going to use this tool here. All right, perfect. Um, so that should look pretty good there. Okay. So I think that will be it for this video. And we'll do a fifth video of combining it together, adding the eyes in, and then importing it into, well, we'll probably do a sixth video of importing it into Pandafold and going from there.